Spider-Man, Retro Spider-Man. It would be easy to come on here and do an angry video. I'm sure it would get a lot of views. You know, upset that they used the Kenner name when Kenner never made Marvel figures. Or maybe I could do a whole video complaining how everything has to be retro now. Toy companies have no new ideas that sell. Well, I would love to hate on it if it wasn't so awesome. Let's talk about the very cool, the very awesome Marvel Kenner style retro figures. Marvel Legends, vintage style or retro style. Everything's retro nowadays. Got He-Man back in retro form, of course Star Wars retro form, and of course Marvel in retro form. Ghostbusters. There's been a lot of stuff. And as I said in the opening, this one has Kenner on it. Although Kenner never made really any superheroes. Well, no Marvel figures. They did do a DC line, which would be cool if they went back and redid them in a retro style. But it has a Kenner logo. Am I going to complain about that? No. Why? It keeps the Kenner name alive. There's a lot of people that grew up in the 90s or didn't grow up in the era I did, and now they know this Kenner name as I did growing up. So it's keeping Kenner alive with stuff like the Marvel Legends, the Ghostbusters retro figures, and the Star Wars retro figures. So anytime I can see the name Kenner, hey, it's great. It means other people is going to be like me, because as a kid, I walked into a toy store, I saw this little blue and white logo, I knew I was about to get something good. So, I'm going to be honest with you. I love this line. This is one of the best toy lines in recent years. Now, do I buy them all? No. I do have Spider-Man, but actually I don't have Spider-Man. This is my son's. He doesn't collect action figures. He's 15 years old. He doesn't care anything about action figures, but he likes Spider-Man, and he loves old-style looking Spider-Man. So, I picked this one up for him, and he hangs it on his wall. And I've been tempted to take it myself and hang it on my wall. Now, there is an Iceman that looks really great. I love the Iceman figure, and I look at it about every time I'm in Walmart. I pick it up, I look at it, I almost get it, and I never do get it. I'm like, $12? Because I'm cheap with my money. If these were about $5, I would pick them up, and that's not a knock against Hasbro, because I know inflation and everything, and $12 is about average for an action figure nowadays. So, although I think it's a little overpriced, that's just being me old and grumpy, because I learned the last couple of years, if I buy the newer stuff, it just ends up in the closet, and I could use that same amount of money to buy something vintage to put over in the junk room, and I would enjoy it a lot more. So, can I like this line if I don't buy it? Yes, I can, because I really respect what they've done with this line here. First, let's talk about the card, the Kenner logo card. It looks really great. I love that it has an old feel to it. It looks like something you were seeing back in the old days. It's bright. It's wonderful. They all are really bright. They're really eye-catching cards. I think they look really great. And look at that. That's a sturdy card. Now, I know sometime when the retro vintage Star Wars figures first hit the cards, I heard a lot of you complain that the cards were really thin, maybe, or bent easy. But these cards seem really thick cards right there, so I like that. You know, there's some stuff I would have done better, maybe, I don't know. The back of it is probably my biggest gripe here. I would have loved to see some kind of vintage style checklist on the back. I think that would have been really cool. The figures itself is really detailed, and they look really, really well, as you can see. Hopefully that will focus right there. And one thing I really love about this line, it's only been out since about a year, well, a little more than a year, and there's already, between these and some coming up in this year, there's about 28 of them. I could be off a few on my count, but around, let's say 30, round off to 30, just to, you know, shut anybody up. But that's good, because what's the retro Star Wars line? What we got? One series a year with 6 figures, 6 a year. I don't know why. They're okay making a lot of these, but they're really tight when it comes to doing the retro Star Wars line, even if they're doing something like the Mando. By now, we should have retro Boba Fett on the shelf, but no. You know, the Boba Fett series, but no. Maybe some retro figures from the prequels and the sequel trilogy, but no, they're really tight about releasing them. But I'm glad to see, at least Hasbro side of Marvel, they're not really so tight about what they release, and they've done a whole slew of these, and I'm throwing some pictures up here as you can see, and they look really nice. Now, I didn't have these figures, so I thought, well, maybe I'm just, you know, see it at the store, maybe it looks good, maybe you take it out of the package, it falls apart, the arm falls off, the head falls off, who knows? Maybe they're not as cool as I think they are. So I went on the Twitter, I went on the Facebook to see what some of you guys was saying. So let's take a look at that. Justin says they look good. Packing and artwork are amazing for a retro line. And Justin, I do agree with you there. Between Failure said the figures are great sandbox toys. The packaging is top notch for display. I don't know if any kids know who half the figures are, but if they do, they could have fun with them. And he's right about that. They do look good on display. If I had a good wall to hang these on, they would look really good all hanging up. Like I said, the art on the card really pops with these figures. I feel they should have went full Star Wars 3.75 inch, the vintage collection, with it instead of doing what Super 7 has been doing for a while now. I'm not really sure what he means by Super 7. I mean, this looks like a lot better quality than Super 7. Look a little taller than Super 7. I think Super 7 is 3.75. I could be wrong because we're talking $12 here. Super 7 is about $20 per figure. If you know I'm not paying $12 for a figure, you know there ain't no way I'm paying $20 for one figure. D-Rail86 says the pros are they look cool. They're a bit cheaper than the non-retro figures. His cons, kids probably won't like them as much as newer figures. No articulation. Now there are no articulations, and I'm not big on that. I don't mind a bunch of joints. I don't need my figure to move at the boobs. And these figures, let's be honest, these figures, they're not really made to come out of the package. I mean, they will look cool out of the package also, don't get me wrong, but they're made really to show on display. These are really made for collectors. I don't think kids are really buying these either. These are one of those lines that's probably aimed more for collectors than they are for the kids, although kids would have fun with them also. They look like they have a lot of play value. I don't need every little part of the figure to turn. And this guy says they're for nostalgia collectors and little kids. His grandson eats them up. I hope he doesn't mean he really eats them like I used to chew on that Han Solo foot. He says watching his grandson play with them brings a big smile to his face. And it's great to see that kids do love these also. American Urge said one of the pros is it triggers some people because it has Kenner on the card. Hey, they're keeping Kenner alive. That's all we need. And he said a con is the price. And although I agree with him, I can understand the price. Tom's burner account thinks it's a nice figure, great paint job, and cool packaging. And he grew up in the 80s G.I. Joe size stuff and it always catches his eye. Autobot said I love them. I got Secret Wars vibes for them. Have quite a collection. Steve said the pros is fun, nostalgia. Sound and timely design fits to the era they're shooting for. His con, there's not enough of them. And Kevin says the pro is fun character choices, and again the con is the price. As you can see, a lot of people really love these figures. I thought it was going to get a lot more hate. You know, it's just cool to hate on stuff, especially if it's popular now. If they find out a lot of people like it, there's going to be a lot of people that hate on it just because that's the popular thing to do with what people like. But overall, the bad thing is the price. And again, I can't understand the pricing. It's just where we are today, sadly. I mean, if these were $20, I would see more of a complaint. And although I'm too cheap ass to pay $12, I can understand the price. My only thing is, I keep thinking, as soon as I buy them, I'm going to walk into a Walmart and they're going to be on clearance for $5. So why buy them now at $12? But then I'll probably never see them on sale. But let's check over what they said on Facebook. Tony said the only real con is they could be about $2 cheaper. And again, I agree with you. Chris says he doesn't even notice any cons. Victor says they're great size for displaying a lot of figures and the price isn't bad, but wishes they came with more accessories. Would be cool if they did cardboard playsets and vehicles. That would be cool, but we're in an age where you don't see many vehicles or playsets at all. And no accessories. Well, if it came with accessories, they'd probably jack the price up to $3. So I guess I'm okay. But you're right, some accessories would make the line a little better. Richard said he loves the packaging. Never liked the reanimation figures themselves. I have a few and they look nice on display and that's it. You're basically playing for the art on the package. Well, he's got a point there. They are kind of like art, and that's kind of how a lot of action figures, at least the one aimed for collectors, are today. You're paying for the look more than anything else. One of the cons that Patrick has is the price like everyone else and the lack of villains. You know, Patrick, you're right. I didn't even realize that when I was pulling images of these figures offline. There's not really that many villains, or not enough villains. If you ask me, for every 2 figures, there needs to be 1 villain. These figures look really good with my superpower action figures. I bet they do. Matt says, if I collected Marvel figures, I'd get them. Looks pretty cool to me. I only collect Star Wars, though. I hear you, Matt. I hear you. Dwayne says I like them and collect them. With whatever funds are left over after Star Wars takes all the toll on my old wallet, that is. Star Wars has taken a lot of our money, hasn't it? Phil says he loves them, but hadn't bought any, but has looked at them every time he's at the toy shop. Just too expensive to justify. Phil, you're a tight ass like me, I guess. Hey, we spend money. We're just very picky with it. Lee says he's got a bunch of them, but he hasn't taken them out of the card yet. He says they're cheaper than other 3/34 scale figures, that's for sure. Well, that's somebody okay with the price, so that's good to hear. Joe says the pro is they're really on great card stock. His con is they're a non-starter. I don't even know what that means. And Sean says what a lot of other people are saying, killer package. Would look great on display as a whole set. Sean is right, like some others said. They're great looking card designs and figure designs. They didn't really go easy. They could have made them cheap looking. They could have went with an 80s generic looking look and tried to make them look retro. Although they do look retro, they could have made them look cheap retro. Kind of like what Super 7 does, where they try too hard to make them look like something from the 80s. But this looks like a good what-if collection. Like, what if Kenner did do Marvel in the 80s? I think this is what we got. I'm pretty sure. And, again, know it says Kenner on the logo, and I've heard people online complain, hey, Kenner didn't make that. Doesn't really matter. It's Kenner. And again, long as you can keep the Kenner name alive, who cares what they put it on? Well, that's a look at the Marvel Legends Retro Collection. I really like them, and maybe I will talk myself into buying them. At least that Iceman. Doesn't that Iceman look good? Now, a lot of them do look good, but I don't know. I just love that Iceman so much. But I have always been a sucker for clear figures. You know, they did a Fantastic Four woman, and I wish they made like half of her clear. That would have been kind of cool. You know, she's invisible. That would have been cool. Just some advice there, Hasbro. But that's the look at the Mattel Legend. Mattel. Did I say Mattel? That's a look at the Hasbro Kenner Marvel Legend figures. Maybe I'll go to Walmart and pick some up now. Tell me what you think. Do you like these figures? Maybe it's just me, but I think it's one of the best action figure lines in the last couple of years. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you like my content. Subscribe to the channel. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.